Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a Toyota Highlander in. I'm going to be doing a routine wash, actually a much needed wash. This is my wife's car. It doesn't get cleaned very often. I think the last time we did this was just before Christmas. It's now February. This car was ceramic coated back in 22, the summer of 22 when we purchased it. I put the 5-year Jade graphene coating, which I've done videos on before. So I'm going to wash this, but it's also due for a little maintenance. We're going to make sure there's no road tar or anything kicked up on the sides. We're going to see how this holds up, or how it is holding up actually, since it's very neglected. So wintertime is definitely a slow time for a detailer. I mean, we have some sporadic weeks where things get really busy, and then other weeks where we only have a few vehicles that come in. I try to do some specials throughout the winter time. I did a car wash special last week. The weather was really nice. Last Friday we were in here. It was the end of January and we had the doors open. It was 60 something degrees outside and we did a ton of car washes. I think we had like 13 cars come in. Just keep plugging them in every 30-minute intervals, in and out. Customers love it because it's a nice maintenance for their vehicles. We had a few coated vehicles come in to get cleaned up. It just gets people in the door in the wintertime. So that's my goal, just to keep people coming in and know that we're open all year. Definitely been a slow time, but we have some projects going on of my own back here in the shop. So the number one, I'm just gonna flip this around. So the first project is my son's razor. So he had some carnage happen. We got a broken sprocket, the chain let loose, took out the cover on the transmission, and when that took out the cover, when everything shifted, we got a bunch of gears that were broken inside there. The motor mount is broken. So my goal is to try to get this thing back together, up and running for him, but I pulled a lot of it apart yesterday and just kept finding more things that were broke. I have everything kind of laid out over here on the table, so it's just teeth missing off of random gears, and yeah, so I'm just getting a parts list together for what we need to get this thing back up and running. And then the other big project is I am LS swapping the C10. So pulled the engine out early December, wound up breaking my finger in the meantime, so that kind of slowed me up, but I've also been buying parts like crazy. So you got all the parts there. Here's the old tired 305. That's just laying here on the side. I pretty much have everything ready to roll. Just waiting on the engine shop down the road to get the short block ready, and then I can get back to wrenching on that. My goal is to have it on the road by the summertime. There's the Trans 4L60. That's a fully built transmission, ready to roll. So all the parts ready to go for that. That's been on my list of things to do, and just pulled the trigger this fall and started ordering parts like crazy, and we're gonna get that thing back together, up and running. So that's a little bit of what's going on here. Not really much in the winter time, just trying to keep myself busy, and like I said, getting customers in here just for general maintenance. I think next week and the week after we have a couple coatings scheduled and some regular details. And hopefully as we move our way through February, they're predicting colder temperatures later on. I don't know. Next week is going to be in the 50s. The week after maybe colder, but we'll take it as we can get it. It feels like every time there's a little bit of warm weather, I get some more calls for people to get their car cleaned. I already have people calling to book for March and April just to get ahead of the game because they know I book up quick. So that's always a plus to know that we have stuff coming in. But normally, as soon as the weather gets nice, the like beginning of March, middle of March, everyone starts getting spring fever. And once we get a really nice day, my phone blows up. I mean, it's nonstop people booking things because they know, my regular customers know they got to get on top of it early if they want to get in here. And then new customers coming in all the time. So, you know, I'm not complaining about the downtime. I plan for the downtime. It's just, I know it's coming. You know, this is like the calm before the storm. Another month or so, we'll be right back to cranking out cars like crazy. I'm gonna get started on this car. get it washed up. My plan is to give it a thorough rinse. I'm gonna foam it down because it's got a lot of, looks like a lot of stuff that's just kind of stuck to the surface, and then give it a good cleaning. Last week I was also having some issues with my pressure washer. So this is an AR Blue 630, and it was just, the pressure was kind of off. Last week we did a car wash special. We cleaned 13 cars, it worked perfectly. I came back here later on that night, wanted to wash my own truck, and for some reason there was barely any pressure coming out of the tip. So took everything apart, looked it over, didn't really find anything crazy, and wound up using my Sunjo pressure washer. Kind of had to downgrade. It was crazy how I used to use that all the time, and then you get spoiled using something like this. So we used that last week. We had a few cars to do, and yesterday I wound up taking a few of these valves off. We're just opening them and just kind of inspecting, and there was a little bit of gunk inside of the valve. So I think that was not allowing the valves to open or close all the way, and kind of messing with the pressures coming out. So it seems like it's working good. It had almost like a pulse to it, like a really hard vibration coming out with the water. It wasn't smooth, but now everything seems to be straightened out and we're back on it. Really, the only maintenance I ever have to do on this is I just change the oil once or twice a year. I mean, we use it a lot, but I really haven't had to do any maintenance on it. It's been flawless so far, and if I just have to check the valves every once in a while to make sure there's nothing in there, that was super easy. It took me like 10 minutes, and now we're back up and running. So I lied. I just turned it on. You can't win, man. Always something. So now we got a leak there. Probably just a rubber gasket or something that's in there that's leaking. I don't know. Now I gotta take that apart and fix it. So here's the nice thing about a ceramic coating. Like I said, this car is really neglected. Haven't washed it since before Christmas. It's February. The water's beating up on the fender, the hood, the roof, windows, down to about the middle of the doors, and then you get below that, and obviously there's a lot of gunk that gets stuck there from the tires kicking it up. But once that gets washed, the hydrophobics come back. But as you can see, it looks pretty good. That's just after a rinse, and it looks clean already. It's just like I said, on the sides, needs a little more attention, but really just a rinse would have gotten away with the top section of the vehicle. It's really not that dirty. That's the great thing about a ceramic coating. The vehicles never really look crazy dirty. I mean, I know silver is pretty forgiving. Same thing with my truck. It looks clean basically all the time. The only thing that really gets grimy are the wheels. Another great upsell that you can do, especially in the winter months, when you're doing maintenance washes, or like we did those car wash specials, you could always add on just another little detail, which is an undercarriage blast. So I got this from the Clean Garage, and you can find it online. I don't remember exactly what I paid for it, but I can put a link to it down in the description. But this just hooks right up to your pressure washer. It's on wheels, and you could roll it underneath the vehicle and blast the undercarriage. Some vehicles, depending on how in-depth we're gonna get, we might rinse it, foam underneath with a degreaser, and let it sit on there for a little while, and then come back and rinse off. I've been rinsing my truck pretty religiously almost every time I wash it, especially in the winter months, and I was underneath it yesterday doing an oil change and some other maintenance, and the underneath looks great. The truck's 2 years old, and like I said, I've been doing it pretty routinely on my washes, and this is definitely a good tool to have. It hooks up super easy to your pressure washer. I have a bunch of different size connections that I use here, so I'll use the long attachment, and then this one will actually end up at any angle, so you can put another attachment on that directly to your wand. Right here, this will move all the way up to 90 degrees. So I will use another shorter attachment. And then the wand will connect right to that. Put that off to the side, right here. There we go. I'll kind of just spin that around. So it gives you a good angle to roll this directly underneath the car. I'll start in the front and do the engine bay area from underneath, and then work my way around, just blasting everything off. Basically, we're able to reach all the way across, so I'm just going to make sure I hit the rockers, the bottom of the rockers here, and we'll be ready to foam it and give it a wash. All right, so I already have my foam cannon pretty much ready to roll. I had some left over from the other day. So in here, I just have some pink car wash soap from 3D, and then I'm using their 3D pre-soak, which I've mentioned in a lot of my other videos. And this is just going to give a little more cutting power on any road grime that's stuck on the surface of the paint. So I'll foam the whole vehicle down with that, and then we're going to give it a thorough wash. Should be a pretty simple wash. Like I said, from the door handles down is basically where a majority of the dirt is stuck to the surface. The rest of it, the water's beating up and it looks super clean already. So I don't think it's going to take too long. Let that dwell on the surface for a little while, loosen things up, and then we'll come back with a contact wash and get this thing cleaned up, rinsed and dried. Not much to it. As always, we'll start at the top, work our way down. I want to save the dirtiest parts for last before I get my wash mitt. I don't want to take stuff from the bottom of the vehicle and bring it to the top, introduce scratches and marring on the paint. You don't want to do that. So start on the roof and we'll work our way down. Barely any pressure on the surface with the wash mitt. Just letting it glide across. It's silky smooth just from the coating on there. And I don't need to apply much pressure to get things off. So I'm just going to stay right around the door handles on my first pass around the whole thing, and then I'll come back and work on the bottom part where, like I said, is the dirtiest. You can even see on the windows how the soap suds are actually beating up, so it's very hard for anything to stick to the surface. Work our way right around and do the passenger side, and then get down on the doors. Now I'm still going to let the soap sit on here a little bit longer. I'm going to do the wheels and tires quick, and then I'm going to give the whole vehicle a rinse. Nothing wrong with that. I'm inside of the garage. The soap's not going to dry up quick, and there's not much to worry about here. We'll do the other side when we're ready to rinse. All right, so we're ready to rinse. We're gonna see what the hydrophobics are like from here down. That's where it looked like the coating was a little clogged up. So after we rinse, we'll decide what our next step's going to be, what our plan of action is gonna be here. If iron decon, if we're gonna have to do a light clay bar or tar remover and see if there's anything stuck to the surface there. After a contact wash, those areas below the door handles on both doors, hydrophobics are back. Everything looks good. I'm gonna run my hand over it and see. There are some rough spots. I could feel some things that are stuck to the surface. I could see some black areas, some little black dots. Might be hard for the camera to pick up. Looks like there's one right there and a couple down below. So I am gonna spray some iron decon on the bottom half of this vehicle and then probably wind up going over it with some tar remover just to get that stuff taken off the surface. But hydrophobics are back. I'm gonna go rinse the other side and then we'll come back and spray this down and address all of this stuff. So yeah, basically the same thing on the passenger side. Some rough spots, some little tiny spots of tar and road grime stuck to the surface. Hydrophobics are back, but we want to make sure we get all that stuff off of there. So I'm going to spray the surface down first with Meguiar's Iron Decon. This is D1801 if you're looking for the actual number on it, but that is it. I've been using this for quite a while. If you're familiar with Iron Decon, you know that it stinks, it smells. As soon as you open the cap of this, I mean, just even with the cap on, I could smell it. Just has that sulfury, rotten egg smell, but it works wonders. So I'm gonna use that. I also, I haven't gotten to it yet because I'm still working on the Meguiar's, but 3D came out with an iron remover. I don't know how long it's been out. This is their GLW series, but I'm gonna give this a shot and see. I use a lot of 3D products and never really had a bad thing to say about any of them, but I'm gonna try this out as soon as I run out of the Meguiar's and see how this is. I'm sure it smells the same. So I'm not gonna spray the entire vehicle, just door handles down. That's where I felt the majority of the grime that's kind of stuck. Everything up here feels nice and smooth, so there's no reason to waste product. This is pretty expensive. It's around $60-something for a gallon. So I don't want to put it in places that I really don't need it. Now I'm inside in a controlled environment. If I was working outside in the sun, I'm not going to want to let this sit on here. I'm going to work smaller panels and rinse, but when I'm inside, I'll do this and let it sit on the vehicle. The longer you can let it sit, the better. I'll let it sit for a few minutes and I might come through with a clay pad and just work off anything that's still stuck to the paint. I don't really see any reaction of purple running down the paint, so that tells me there's really not any iron deposits on here from the brakes, but mainly just road grime and tar. This clay mint that I'm going to go over the surface with is from the Rag Company. It's their ultra fine grade clay mint. I have some heavier duty ones, but for this surface, I don't think I need to go that crazy. Very lightly, I'm going to go over the surface with this. The iron remover is going to act as a little bit of a lubricant on the surface. I know some people use like a quick detailer or a dedicated lubricant to spray on the surface. Since I'm doing this process, I'm going to use that as my lubricant, very lightly go over the surface down each side of the car. I did notice on the driver's side, I'm over the passenger side now, I did notice there were a couple little purple streaks, so I just wanted to try to show you that. I don't know if it's going to pick it up on the camera with the lighting, but there are a couple little purple streaks running down the side, but a majority of it I think is road tar. And that took a majority of it off. After I rinse it, I'll take another look at it. There might be, I do feel a little bit here and there of the road tar. Let's see what it looks like after we rinse it. Alright, so I'm going to do a quick little inspection on the paint and see if there is anything still stuck on the surface. Just sliding my hand over, feel how smooth or slick it really is, and I'm really not feeling anything on this side. Maybe a couple spots here and there, but not nearly as bad as it was before. Yeah, it's pretty smooth. I think we're going to be alright on this side. I didn't feel anything at all. I'll just give that a quick rinse. There's still some suds that are stuck on there, and we'll be good to go. Okay, now that the surface is clean, it's still wet. I did not dry it off yet. I'm going to mist it down with some Gyeon Wet Coat. Just going to add an extra layer of protection onto the coating itself. I do this for all my maintenances, and I mentioned this before in a lot of my videos of the use and the easiness of this. This is super simple to use. Just mist it on, rinse it off, dry the car, and you're done. I like to work one panel at a time. This is able to go on all surfaces, windows, the trim, the wheels, obviously the paint, the whole exterior of the vehicle, you could use this on. I've used this on vehicles that had zero protection on them, not a coat of wax, sealant, it wasn't a ceramic coating, and use this and immediately you see the hydrophobics basically like it was just sealed or waxed or even ceramic coated. It has the same properties as a ceramic coating, so that's why you're going to get the tight water beading like you would see here. I feel like this would probably be a good product for someone who doesn't have, the ability or the time to do a full-blown sealant or any type of coating on their vehicle. Especially if you don't have a garage to work on, you can go to a car wash, blast it, clean it well, and you could put this right on in the wash bay at the car wash, spray it on, rinse it off, dry the car there, and you're done, and you have some quick protection on your paint. Basically, all I would do on my old truck, I had a GMC, a 2010 GMC Sierra Denali, and I was so busy that I didn't have time to do full maintenance on my truck, so I would wash it like this, spray the Gyeon Wet Coat on, get a few months protection. Next time maybe after a few washes, I would do it again, and it was just quick and easy, and I knew that I had at least something on the paint to give it some protection. These little mist sprayers are definitely a good purchase as well. I've mentioned these before. I'll put the link down in the description below. I think you buy them in packs of 3 on Amazon. They're not super expensive, but they definitely save product. So this was filled up. I used maybe a little less than half of the container. So I'm basically getting 2 to 3 vehicles, depending on the size, out of one fill up on this container. So I use this for the Gyeon Wet Coat, but I also use it for some of my quick detailers. And you don't need to be drenching the surface or drenching your towel when you're wiping the car down. So it definitely saves on product, which in turn saves you money. Quick towel dry, and this car will be ready to roll. This is the Dreadnought from Autofiber. Awesome drying towel. One towel this size, I could dry the whole entire vehicle. Soaks up a ton of water and just makes life easier. It's always easier to dry off a ceramic coated vehicle or one that has good protection on it. If you ever notice, if you're in this business and you're drying a car that doesn't have anything on it, or you stripped everything off of it and gave it a wash before you're going to put a coating on it, it's so hard to dry because the water is just kind of stuck to the surface and you're basically just pushing the water around. On a coated vehicle, one swipe with a towel and it's dry. I mean, it's so easy. When we have other vehicles that come in here that don't have anything on it and we're getting ready to put a coat of sealant or something, it really takes a while to dry, especially in the winter time. We bring them in, I don't have the heat cramping super crazy in here. We're in the 60s, but just because it's cold outside, the surface of the vehicles are cold and it just takes forever to dry. So it kind of slows our process down. compared to summertime. You pull a vehicle in here, as you're washing it, if it came directly from outside to inside and you're washing it, the water's drying up super fast. So those processes are a lot quicker in the summer as the temperatures are warmer. All right, so that's it. This car is washed, cleaned, protected. All that road grime is off, the hydrophobics are back, and it's ready to roll out. We actually have some nice temperatures and nice weather. The sun's shining outside today, which we haven't seen in quite a while, but it's gonna be nice all week, so that means this car will stay clean for a little while longer than usual. And hopefully the weather stays that way and we don't get any more snowstorms, but it's only February. We got a long way to go yet. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, drop them below, drop some comments. Let me know what you think, if you use any of these products or the ceramic coating that you're using and how it holds up. I'm super happy with the Jade line of ceramic coatings. I don't feel like I need a change to anything. They don't really advertise a lot. You don't hear about them a lot. There are a few people every once in a while on some of the forums that will mention that they use Jade and they get great results, and I feel the same way. I don't have any issues with the coatings at all. I've been using them for probably 5-6 years now and put them on my own personal vehicles, a ton of customers' vehicles, and never had any complaints at all. So I'm gonna stick with them. Hopefully you guys check them out too. If you haven't used the coating or if you're searching for a new coating, definitely give them a shot. They have a huge line of coatings that will fit any need, any enthusiast. Someone could do it on the side if they're just working on their own vehicles, or if you actually do have a business and that's something you're looking to use, check out Jade ceramic coatings. All right, guys, I'm gonna get to finishing this thing up. I just need the wheels to dry up, or the tires to dry up a little bit, throw some tire shine on, out the door, and enjoy the rest of my day. We'll see you on the next one.